The rain was coming down in sheets as I stared out the window of my San Francisco apartment. I love the rain, usually. It's calming, meditative. But tonight, it just mirrored the storm inside me. I'm Gideon, 46, and until a few weeks ago, I thought I had it all. A beautiful wife, a comfortable life as a software engineer, and a future that seemed as bright as the Golden Gate Bridge on a sunny day. My wife, Lenore, was a project manager at a large construction firm. We'd been married for 15 years, together for 18. We met in college, two bright-eyed kids with dreams of conquering the world. We built a life, a home, a partnership. Or so I thought. The first crack in the facade appeared subtly. Lenore started working later, claiming new projects and demanding deadlines. Dinners together became less frequent. Weekends were filled with team-building exercises and urgent site visits. I chalked it up to the pressure of her job. I'm not the jealous type. I trusted her implicitly. Then came the phone. It was a Saturday morning. Lenore was supposedly at a conference in Sacramento. Her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. It wasn't unusual for her to leave it behind. She had a company phone too, but something compelled me to look. A notification popped up. "I can't stop thinking about last night." The message was from a number I didn't recognize. My heart hammered against my ribs. My hands trembled as I unlocked her phone, something I'd never done before. I found a string of messages, each one a dagger twisting in my gut. They were explicit, intimate, filled with a passion I hadn't seen from Lenore in years. The number belonged to someone named Theron. I sank into a chair, the phone slipping from my grasp. The room spun. My world tilted on its axis. I felt a wave of nausea, followed by a cold, sharp anger. How could she, after all these years? The trust, the love, the life we'd built, all reduced to ashes by a few digital whispers. I spent the next few days in a daze. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I replayed every moment of our relationship in my head, searching for clues I'd missed, signs I'd ignored. Was I blind? Was I so caught up in my own world that I hadn't noticed her drifting away? Lenore returned from her conference on Sunday evening, all smiles and apologies for being so busy. I looked at her, at the woman I'd shared my life with, and saw a stranger, a liar, a cheat. I didn't confront her immediately. I needed time to gather my thoughts, to plan my next move. I decided to play along, to act as if nothing had changed. It was agonizing, but I knew I needed to be smart, to be strategic. I started digging. I used my tech skills to uncover everything I could about Theron. He was a project manager at the same construction firm as Lenore. He was married too, with two young children. He was a predator, a user, a destroyer of families. The more I learned, the angrier I became. This wasn't just a momentary lapse in judgment. This was a calculated affair, a betrayal of the deepest kind. I decided I wasn't going to let them get away with it. I wasn't going to be the passive victim, the cuckolded husband who quietly disappears into the night. I was going to fight back. My first step was to gather evidence. I installed a discreet recording app on Lenore's phone. I documented her late nights, her secretive calls, her evasive answers. I built an irrefutable case. Then I contacted a lawyer. I explained the situation, showed her the evidence. She was sympathetic but also realistic. Divorce proceedings could be long and messy, especially with infidelity involved. But I was determined. I wanted Lenore to pay for what she'd done. I wanted Theron to lose everything. My lawyer advised me to confront Lenore, to give her a chance to confess. I hesitated. Part of me still clung to the hope that it was all a mistake, that she'd come clean, that we could somehow salvage something from the wreckage. But the rational part of me knew better. I knew that Lenore was too far gone, too deeply entrenched in her lies. So I decided to confront Theron first. I found his address online. It was a modest house in the suburbs, a picture-perfect example of suburban bliss. I imagined his wife, his children, oblivious to the storm brewing on the horizon. I drove to his house on a Tuesday afternoon. I parked down the street and walked up to his front door. I took a deep breath and rang the bell. Theron answered the door. He was tall, handsome, with a smug look on his face. He clearly didn't recognize me. "Can I help you?" he asked. "I'm Gideon," I said, my voice cold and hard. "Lenore's husband." The color drained from his face. He stumbled backward, his eyes wide with fear. "I think we need to talk." I said, stepping into his house before he could protest. I laid it all out for him. I told him about the messages, the phone calls, the evidence I'd gathered. I told him about the pain he'd caused, the families he'd destroyed. He tried to deny it at first, but I wasn't having it. I showed him the messages, the photos, the recordings. He was trapped, cornered. "What do you want?" he finally asked, his voice barely a whisper. "I want you to tell your wife everything," I said. "I want you to confess to Lenore's husband. I want you to face the consequences of your actions." He hesitated. "I can't," he said. "It would ruin my life. It's already ruined," I said. "You just don't know it yet." I gave him 24 hours. I told him that if he didn't confess, I would do it for him. I left his house and drove straight to Lenore's office. I waited for her in the lobby. When she emerged, I grabbed her arm and dragged her outside. "We need to talk," I said, my voice trembling with rage. I took her to a nearby park, to a quiet bench overlooking the bay. I sat her down and told her everything. I showed her the messages, the photos, the recordings. I watched as her face crumpled, as her lies unraveled. She tried to deny it at first, but I wouldn't let her. I confronted her with the truth, with the evidence, with the pain she'd inflicted. "Why?" asked, my voice cracking with emotion. "Why did you do this to us?" She started to cry. "I don't know," she sobbed. "I was unhappy. I felt neglected. I just wanted to feel something." Her excuses were pathetic, hollow. They didn't justify her betrayal, her deceit. "I'm done," I said, standing up. "I'm filing for divorce. I want you out of my life." I walked away, leaving her sobbing on the bench. I didn't look back. The next few weeks were a blur. The divorce proceedings were messy, as expected. Lenore fought me every step of the way, trying to minimize her responsibility, to protect her assets, but I was relentless. I used every piece of evidence I had to expose her lies, to prove her infidelity. In the end, she had no choice but to concede. Theron, true to his word, never confessed to his wife. So I did it for him. I sent her an anonymous email detailing his affair with Lenore. I included all the evidence I had gathered. I knew it was a cruel thing to do, but I felt it was necessary. She deserved to know the truth. The fallout was swift and brutal. Theron's wife filed for divorce. He was fired from his job. His reputation was ruined. He lost everything. Lenore, too, faced the consequences of her actions. She was ostracized by her friends and family. Her career suffered. She was left alone with nothing but her regrets. As for me, I was left with the wreckage of my shattered life. The pain of betrayal was deep and lasting, but I was also free. Free from the lies, free from the deceit, free from the toxic relationship that had consumed me. I spent the next few months rebuilding my life. I focused on my work, my friends, my hobbies. I started seeing a therapist who helped me process my emotions, to heal from the trauma. It wasn't easy. There were days when I felt overwhelmed by sadness, by anger, by despair. But I persevered. I refused to let Lenore and Theron destroy me. I was determined to move on, to find happiness again. One day, I received an email from Theron's ex-wife, Christelle. She thanked me for exposing the truth. She said that knowing the truth had allowed her to move on, to rebuild her life. She asked if I would be willing to meet for coffee. I hesitated at first. I wasn't sure I was ready to face her, to relive the pain of the past. But I also felt a sense of obligation, a sense of shared experience. So I agreed. We met at a small cafe near her house. She was beautiful, strong, and resilient. We talked for hours, sharing our stories, our pain, our hopes for the future. We started seeing each other regularly. We found comfort in each other's company, a sense of understanding that only two people who had experienced similar betrayals could share. Over time, our friendship blossomed into something more. We fell in love. We found happiness again in the most unexpected of places. It wasn't the life I had planned. It wasn't the future I had imagined, but it was real. It was honest. It was filled with love and trust, and that, I realized, was all that mattered. Lenore, on the other hand, never recovered. She spiraled into depression, lost her job, and eventually moved away. I heard through mutual friends that she was struggling, that she was still haunted by her past. Part of me felt sorry for her, but another part of me knew that she had brought it all on herself. She had made her choices, and she had to live with the consequences. I learned a lot from my experience. I learned that trust is a fragile thing, that it can be broken in an instant. I learned that people are capable of great cruelty, of great betrayal. But I also learned that the human spirit is resilient, that it can overcome even the most devastating of blows. And I learned that sometimes the greatest tragedies can lead to the most unexpected blessings. Now I'm living a happy, fulfilling life with Christelle. We've built a strong, loving relationship based on honesty and trust. We've both healed from our past wounds, and we're looking forward to a bright future together. And sometimes when the rain is falling on San Francisco, I think about Lenore. I wonder if she ever regrets her choices, if she ever wishes she could turn back time. But then I look at Christelle, at the love in her eyes, and I know that I made the right decision. I chose to fight back, to rebuild my life, to find happiness again. And that's a victory worth celebrating.